Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. And if you're a true General Hospital fan, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started with today's video. According to General Hospital, GH, teasers, Harrison Chase, Josh Swickard, will face a difficult decision because Brook Lynn Quartermaine, Amanda Seton, has wreaked havoc. How will Chase react now that Brook Lynn has admitted to framing Willow Kane, Caitlin McMullen? Chase is clearly furious that Brook Lynn is targeting Willow, especially after she assisted with Phoebe's, Luna, and Lucia Creighton adoption. Chase is upset because he feels Michael Corinthos, Rory Gibson, framed Willow for shooting Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson, and Brook Lynn is causing Willow further problems. Fans of General Hospital realize Willow is genuinely responsible for Drew's attempted murder. Willow is also crossing important lines with Brook Lynn's spouse. That's why it's difficult to feel sorry for Willow given the circumstances. Brook Lynn was wrong to frame Willow, but she had previously escaped justice for a number of crimes, including Drew's shooting, the entire Lockton issue, and Daisy Gilmore's, Brendan and Evelyn Beamford, stalker drama. Willow's reputation deserves to suffer in some way, but Chase doesn't view it that way because he holds her in high regard. Brook Lynn believes Chase prioritizes protecting Willow above anything else. Chase, on the other hand, may prove Brook Lynn incorrect in the July 13th episode when he appears to respond to her acts in an unexpected way. Brook Lynn may be concerned that Chase will turn her in for the frame-up, but he cannot do so. It might be the final straw that gets Chase dismissed from the PCPD and results in charges for Brook Lynn, so Chase will not want to jeopardize their marriage or the adoption that is already in progress. Chase appears to be focusing on his relationship with Brook Lynn and their Phoebe family plans in order to demonstrate what is most important to him. Summer preview spoilers imply that Chase will set some boundaries with Willow. Brook Lynn's willingness to go to such lengths to interfere with Chase and Willow's relationship speaks volumes about her fears. Chase will recognize that this is necessary for the sake of his marriage, so he will distance himself from Willow and demonstrate his ability to be the devoted husband that Brook Lynn deserves. Of course, Brook Lynn should have admitted to being the motorist who fled the crash site. That secret will certainly emerge sooner or later, and Chase may be unhappy that she hid something else from him in the future. Even so, Willow is concealing many bigger offenses that Chase may eventually learn about, so Brook Lynn's actions will not appear as horrible in comparison. According to General Hospital spoilers, Chase is still in for some unpleasant surprises, so keep an eye out for any other shocking developments. Chase stood in the center of the Quartermaine living room, the weight of Lucy's words ringing in his ears like a faulty chord from one of Brook Lynn's old songs. The Metro Court pool was bright and loud with summer banter, but Lucy's conversation had drained the day's color. She hadn't meant to spill it. Lucy seldom did, but the pieces had fit together too neatly. Brook Lynn was at the estate the night of the accident. She had given Lucy half of her deception shares to keep her quiet. Willow was now facing accusations that might destroy her life, her congressional career, and everything. He'd wanted to believe Michael was behind it. It would have been easier. Messy family turmoil and old grudges, standard Port Charles stuff. But the evidence pointed directly to his wife. Brook Lynn strolled in, holding a tray of iced drinks, and her smile faded as she noticed his face. Chase? What is wrong? You appear to have seen a ghost. He did not grin back. We should talk. Now. She gingerly laid the tray down, wiping her hands on her pants. The easy domestic gesture felt inappropriate, like a masquerade. Okay. Is this regarding the adoption paperwork? Tracy said she'd. It's about Willow. His voice was flat and calm, similar to how he questioned suspects at the station. Lucy told me everything. Or enough. You framed her, Brook Lynn. You and Lucy made up this tale about the accident to make Willow appear culpable. Why? Brook Lynn's face turned pale, but she lifted her chin in the same way she usually did when cornered. Quartermaine steel. I was protecting us. Protecting our family. Chase, you've spent all of your time with her. Swimming together, reminiscing about former times, and her offering you a job. She's worming her way back into your life, and I noticed how you looked at her. I couldn't just sit back and let her take you away from me and Phoebe. Chase looked at her, amazement mixed with something sharper. Anger, disappointment, a hollow aching. So, you choose to wreck her life instead? Willow assisted us with the adoption. She's been trying to make things right after what happened with Michael and Drew. And you repay her by blaming her for a hit and run. I did not want her arrested. Brook Lynn's voice rose in defense. I just wanted you to see her as she is. Unstable. Manipulative. Someone who does not belong in this world. Michael has purposefully pushed her toward you, as you are aware. This was my way of fighting back. Chase paced towards the fireplace, running a hand over his hair. The room felt too small, with images of generations of Quartermaines silently criticizing him. He had married into this family and accepted the chaos because he admired Brook Lynn's fire, ambition, and the way she fought for her goals. But this went against all he stood for. I defended you, he replied gently. I supported you through your music career's ups and downs, family feuds, and secrets. I thought we were partners. Be honest with each other. But you lied in my face. You let me study this case, assuming it was Michael or some other outsider, when it was actually you all along. Brook Lynn took a step forward, reaching for his arm. He pulled away. Chase, please. I was afraid. I still am. We're finally creating something tangible. Phoebe, the future. Willow represents everything that has nearly broken us before. I couldn't lose you. The words hovered between them. Chase glanced at her intently. He had fallen in love with the woman who sang strongly on stage and loved equally fiercely at home. But all he saw now was the calculation, the readiness to destroy someone else in order to keep him. It surprised him how much that ached. I need air, he said quietly, clutching his jacket. Don't follow me. He drove without thinking, eventually arriving at the park near the boathouse where he and Willow had their latest encounter, which Michael appeared to have planned. The lake gleamed in the late afternoon sun, mocking his distress. He sat on a bench, head in hands. Willow discovered him 20 minutes later. She must have been strolling the path. Her congressional aid bag was slung over her shoulder, with documents poking out. Chase, are you okay? You look terrible. He chuckled cruelly, not looking up. Define okay. She sat near to him, but not touching. Willow was always careful and mindful of boundaries, following their turbulent relationship. Speak to me. Is this the case? I know things are heating up with the investigation. He turned to her and studied her expression. The same lovely eyes that had once looked at him with fondness were now clouded by tiredness and concern. This is Brook Lynn. Willow, she's the one who set you up. With Lucy's help. The witness statements, the timeline, they made it up to keep you away from me. Willow raised her hand to her mouth. She remained silent for a period while analyzing. Then, unexpectedly, a glimmer of comprehension crossed her face. She is frightened of losing you. I understand that. Chase shook his head. I've been there, losing people I care about because of my own errors. Do not protect her. Not right now. She crossed the line. A legal line. I am a cop, Willow. How am I meant to look the other way? You are not, Willow replied softly. But you are also her husband. This isn't black and white. In Port Charles, all families have contributed to the bloodshed. The question is what you will do with the truth. He jumped up abruptly, needing to escape. I do not know. Part of me wants to turn her in. Make things right. But another part, God, I love Willow. Or I did. I thought I did. Now, everything feels cracked. They walked down the water's edge, the discussion coming in breaks and turns. Willow listened more than she spoke, sharing modest insights from her own complicated past, affairs, betrayals, and redemption attempts. Chase found himself relying on her stability, like he always did. She didn't push or flirt. She was right there, the buddy he had once married, the lady who understood remorse better than others. Hours have passed. The sun fell lower. Chase's phone buzzed regularly, indicating Brook Lynn's increasingly urgent texts. He disregarded them. Brook Lynn waited in the living room that night, her eyes burning. You spoke to her, didn't you? Of course you did, Chase said, closing the door behind him with a final click. Yeah, I did. If you are concerned about gloating, she did not do so. She's hurt, yet she's more concerned about us than herself. That is the difference between you two right now. Brook Lynn sunk into the couch. What happens now? Are you leaving me? The question pierced him. He sat across from her, maintaining a purposeful distance. I do not know. I need time. Space. This is not something I can forgive overnight. You lied about something huge. You harmed someone I care passionately about. And for what? Insecurity, she muttered. It wasn't just insecurity. Michael is playing games. He wants Willow back under his control, and he is using you to do it. I noticed the setup at the boathouse. I know what will happen if we don't stop it. Chase rubbed his temples. Then we fight it together as partners. No, not by destroying people. That is not who I am, Brook Lynn. That is not the man you married. She stretched for his hand, and he let her take it. Her touch was familiar and pleasant, but it did not repair the fracture. I'll fix it. I'll talk to Lucy and retract the statements. Whatever it takes. Please don't give up on us. About Phoebe. She requires both of us. The baby's name twisted something in his chest. They had battled tirelessly for this adoption for a family. Walking away now would have far-reaching consequences beyond their marriage. However, staying meant accepting that his wife was capable of such duplicity. The next few days were a haze of anxiety and half-conversation. Chase threw himself into work, avoiding the Quartermain estate whenever possible. Willow kept her distance, respecting his turmoil, but their paths eventually crossed, at the station, at Kelly's for coffee. Each time, the old ease between them returned, a recall of simpler times when love wasn't entwined in lies and plans. Michael confronted him one afternoon outside the PCPD. I heard you were having marital issues. Funny how that happens when the truth is revealed. Chase tightened his fist. Stay out of this, Michael. This isn't your chess game. But it was. Michael's machinations were the undercurrent that pushed everyone over the edge. Brook Lynn confronted her cousin later, accusing him, but the harm had already been done. One evening, Chase found himself at Willow's doorstep. It wasn't planned. I just drove there. She responded in casual attire, shocked but welcoming. Chase. Come inside. Drew's gone. Thank goodness. They sat in the living room, the talk devolving into something more serious than anticipated. Willow spoke him about her regrets, including hurting him years ago, having an affair with Michael, and feeling like she was drowning due to political pressures. Chase confessed his own reservations, the conflict between duty and love, the concern that he'd never totally trust Brook Lynn again. I'm not asking you to choose me, Willow stated at one point, her voice firm. I understand what we had. It was real, yet it happened in the past. You and Brook Lynn created something fresh. But if she can't be honest with you, perhaps it's time to consider what kind of future that is. Her words lingered. Chase did not kiss her. I didn't cross that line. However, the emotional connection felt like a betrayal on its own. Brook Lynn found out about the visit. Port Charles had eyes everywhere. The confrontation that ensued was explosive. Tears, raised shouts, and allegations of emotional cheating. You ran right to her, she cried. The moment things got hard, you raced to sabotage. He shot back. We should be better than this. In the aftermath, Chase packed a backpack. Not forever, only for now. He crashed at Dante's, seeking clarification. Brook Lynn's unexpected setup elicited quiet disengagement, a thoughtful appraisal of all he believed about love and commitment. Weeks passed. Brook Lynn worked tirelessly to dismantle the frame-up, meeting with lawyers, pressing Lucy, and even enlisting Tracy's reluctant assistance. She wrote texts and left voicemails filled with apologies and recollections of their wedding, late-night music, and the joy of Phoebe's placement. Chase listened to everyone with a sorrowful heart. Willow, relieved of the worst suspicions thanks to Chase's modest work behind the scenes, concentrated on her own life, divorcing Drew and navigating Congress. She and Chase had a couple more conversations, boundaries set but support steadfast. It was not romance, but rather closure and camaraderie created amid the flames. Chase eventually returned home. Not with complete forgiveness, but with conditions. Therapy. Complete transparency. No more scams. Brook Lynn agreed, wanting to rebuild. The road ahead was long. Trust did not regenerate overnight, but the husband's next chapter included choosing progress over devastation. Port Charles never remained quiet for long. Michael's ideas simmered, new threats arose, and old flames flickered. But for Chase, this stunning finding prompted a reckoning. Love was more than simply emotion or history. It was the daily decision to confront the truth, no matter how nasty. He clutched Brook Lynn one night while Phoebe slept nearby, wondering if they'd make it. The answer wasn't obvious, but for the first time in weeks, he was willing to try. Willow's setup had nearly broken them, but if they made it through the fallout, it might forge something stronger. Tensions in Port Charles continued to build as suspicions, secrets, and emotional betrayals jeopardized multiple relationships. Rumors of Brook Lynn's potential involvement in a Willow-related scam could mark one of Chase's most dramatic turning points. If Chase finds that Brook Lynn was involved in influencing events surrounding Willow, his initial reaction would most certainly be one of profound skepticism. Throughout their relationship, he has always sought to believe in Brook Lynn's good intentions, even when her mistakes have caused problems. However, learning that she may have crossed a significant boundary could cause him to reconsider everything he thought he knew about his wife. Chase may initially demand answers before reaching judgment. His strong feelings for Brook Lynn made it impossible for him to accept accusations without hearing her side of the tale. However, the data may grow increasingly impossible to ignore. Friends and family members may begin to reveal things that paint a frightening picture, leaving Chase torn between his loyalty to his wife and his own sense of right and wrong. He would also be concerned about the likelihood that Willow had been set up on purpose. Chase has always tried to protect those he cares about, and knowing that someone he loves has been harmed by deception may cause him to feel guilty and angry. He may question whether there were any warning signs he missed, and if his faith allowed the issue to spin out of control. Brook Lynn, meanwhile, may find herself urgently trying to explain her behavior. She may claim that her motives were never evil and that she thought she was helping someone or preventing an even bigger calamity. In Port Charles, good intentions frequently result in devastating consequences, and characters routinely make questionable decisions despite feeling they are acting for the right reasons. Chase may still find it difficult to accept excuses. The issue would not just be what happened to Willow, but also the honesty in his marriage. Chase relies heavily on trust, and secrets have already harmed his relationships. If he believes Brook Lynn purposely withheld critical information from him, the emotional consequences could be severe. Chase may want to separate himself briefly as the reality becomes more apparent. Taking time apart may become his way of digesting the event and determining whether their marriage can withstand another huge controversy. Such a decision would be devastating for Brook Lynn, who has worked hard to secure a steady future with him. Family members would most likely get engaged as well. Some may promote forgiveness, claiming that everyone in Port Charles has made mistakes. Others may argue that Chase should not disregard behavior that could lead to further heartbreak. The contradicting counsel would make his decision even more difficult. Willow's response may also have an impact on the outcome. If she chooses forgiveness, Chase may start to reconsider his severe approach. However, if Willow remains deeply hurt and feels that she was purposefully misled, Chase may be even more confused about supporting Brook Lynn. Another possibility is that Chase chooses to explore the situation himself. Rather than depending merely on rumors or secondhand knowledge, he may seek to discover the whole truth. This search for answers may disclose unanticipated secrets and expose extra people who played roles behind the scenes. The emotional ramifications could go far beyond a single relationship. Friendships may be strained, alliances may shift, and old rivalries may resurface. Port Charles has a long history of secrets being revealed at inconvenient times, and this case could be another illustration of how one decision can have far-reaching consequences. For Chase, the ultimate question is whether love is sufficient to overcome betrayal. He has consistently demonstrated a willingness to forgive, but everyone has limitations. If he believes Brook Lynn purposely endangered others or deceived him for an extended period of time, he may begin to question whether their marriage was built on a foundation that is no longer solid enough to withstand. Brook Lynn's future relied heavily on her ability to accept responsibility. Genuine remorse and utter honesty could be her only chance of mending the damage. Even then, forgiveness would not be easy. Rebuilding trust is frequently more difficult than losing it. Fans would likely be divided on how Chase should respond. Some would argue that he should support his wife despite her flaws, while others believe he should shield himself from additional grief. Such divergent views are prevalent in long-running soap operas, where complicated characters frequently operate in shades of gray rather than as obvious heroes and villains. Regardless matter the outcome, the plot has the ability to provide dramatic emotional scenes and significant ramifications for multiple individuals. Chase's reaction could be one of the pivotal moments in his relationship with Brook Lynn, pushing both characters to confront difficult facts about trust, loyalty, and forgiveness. Whether this crisis ultimately kills or enhances their marriage after an arduous road is questionable. One thing is clear: if the mysteries involving Willow and Brook Lynn are ultimately revealed, Chase's next move could impact the destiny of numerous families in Port Charles and pave the way for even more dramatic twists in the coming episodes.